the UK government sets a new deadline to fix unsafe cladding on residential buildings. We're going to read into this more from the Financial Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from the Financial Times with the headline that the UK government sets a new deadline to fix unsafe cladding on residential buildings. Landlords that fail to meet the deadline will face severe penalties, says the Housing Ministry. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. This is very good. This is very good. This needs to be... I'm glad that there's been a deadline set, and I'm glad that there is a pressure cooker applied to this, where basically the majority, basically the deadline is 2029, as they'll point out in the article. So that means pretty much from 2025 to pretty much most of Labour's terms, they should have most, or if not all, unsafe claddings done. That is it, and they should, rightly so, be held to account if they do not deliver this. For this has been going on for too long. For too long, there have been residential buildings who have had this material, and this is long overdue. And the Conservatives, for a long period, after what happened in Grenfell, stivered and delayed and didn't really do anything about it, claimed that they would get some progress, and they made some progress, but there was not the intent of getting things done here. To me, this seems like intent, because now they applied a deadline onto them. There is now pressure on this Labour government to ensure that they deal with this, and I hope that they deal with this. I really, really hope so. I don't know, because it's really, really important. Not just because of setting an achievement. This is about people's safety and well-being inside buildings. Okay, inside your home. Okay, people should not have to feel that where they live in is unsafe. That there could be something that could set things ablaze, that could set the entire tower block on fire. People should not have to feel any of that. And it's outrageous that there's even that thought in their heads. We know we got this problem in certain hospitals and schools as well. The very fact that there is some unsafe cladding. And I know it's very complicated because obviously it's hard to pinpoint who exactly is responsible for what, whether it's the safety regulators, whether it's the supplier itself and whatnot. That I'm not interested in all of them. What I'm interested in is ensuring that people's homes are safe from them. Yeah. What is the most important thing when you start a job or whatever it is you do? Health and safety, right? It's because, and I know many people like myself sometimes think, health and safety again. No, it really bloody matters, because we're talking about people's lives. Those people who died at Grenfell, lots of them did not need to die because of what happened. And it's so important that we hence learn from our mistakes. And I swear to God, if Labour do not get this target, they deserve an absolute kicking up the backside. Because there's no excuse now. They have a deadline, and we should hold them to the fire on this one. Talking about people's lives here, people's homes. This matters. This really, really does matter. The UK government has announced new deadlines to fix dangerous claddings on tall buildings by the end of the decade, responding to the pressures to speed up work 7 years after Grenfell Tower's fire that killed 72 people. 72 lives, remember that. Buildings higher than 11 metres with unsafe cladding will have to be remitted or have a completion date by the end of 2029, the Housing Ministry, Communities and Local Government said on Monday. All buildings higher than 18 metres covered by the government scheme will also have to be finished by that date. The department says landlords will be liable for severe penalties if they miss the deadline, and it will lay these out in details in Parliament. Okay, so this is a big problem. If there are some landlords who are filthy stinking rich, they can get away with paying off the penalties. There should be, depending on the wealth that certain landlords have. Let's say if some landlords are very, very wealthy, it should be if they have a committed amount of wealth and they are not dealing with this, there should be perhaps criminal charges brought, because they are putting their tenants in at health and safety risk. And I'm not kidding. I think we should seriously consider that, because what you're saying is to these landlords, you are choosing not to fix this issue. We have given you we've given you time to deal with this issue. You've still chosen not to deal with this issue. Either sell up or sell it up to someone else, or fix the issue. If you're not going to do either of those two, and if you're not going to pay the fine, or if you're going to just pay it off and leave it to happen, then we'll take criminal act charges against you, because you are putting tenants at risk. Their lives are at risk under your watch, because you are not looking after their procurement and safety. The pace of remediation has far been too slow for far too long, and we are taking decisive action to right this wrong and make homes safe, says Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner. The announcement comes ahead of the Parliament debate on Monday on the damning findings of the Grenfell Tower inquiry, which details decades of failure by local and national government, regulators, construction companies and suppliers of cladding. Thousands of buildings with fire safety problems were identified in the aftermath of the deadly Grenfell fire in West London in 2017. The government says 95% of buildings with the same type of cladding as Grenfell Tower has been remitted, but overall only 30% of buildings have been fixed, with potentially thousands more buildings still not identified. And this is the problem here. Yeah, there's still a lot of buildings not identified. The Conservatives still did not identify all the buildings. Not everything has been accounted for. But they have done only 30% of buildings. So this is, I will give credit where credit's due. They have done some, but they haven't done nowhere near fast enough. A report from the National Audit Office Spending Watchdog last month said fixing all tall buildings could cost up to $22.4 billion and probably not be finished by 2035. Yeah, this is not good enough. This feels like to me an attempt to kick can down the road. So if they've put a deadline of 2029, and the National Audit Office is saying it could like the costs. Like, I'm sorry, I don't give a shit about the cost. Cost should not matter here. We're talking about people's lives here. Yeah, people's lives are in danger every single day that these claddings are not dealt with. People's lives are at risk. Yeah, so money should not be a factor when it comes to people's life. Residents in these buildings often face huge costs from insurance and service charges, differently selling or remortgaging their home, as well as risk and anxiety of living in potentially dangerous properties. Exactly. How can people come home and relax or whatever after a long day of work, knowing the stress and anxiety of possibly that their house could go up in flames any moment? The approach to fire safety under the previous Conservative government was sharply criticised by campaigners and house builders for excessive complexity, with multiple schemes and levies leading to protracted legal disputes over what safety work was actually necessary and who should pay for it. This was so frustrating about the who would pay for it. I hated that. Campaign group End Our Cladding Scandal says new plans still ignore safety issues other than cladding, and that remediation works often don't go far enough, leaving buildings half safe. If that's true, then more needs to be done there. Government is also set to go ahead with a proposed building safety levy tax on new developments that's expected to raise $3 billion from house building groups to help fund safety works, according to industrial figures. One executive complained that this hefty tax on home building came a week after the Chancellor Rachel Reeves promised no more tax increases on British businesses. Large house builders are already set to pay £2 billion in extra corporation tax to fund the remediation. In addition, 54 large developers have agreed with the government to fix life-critical safety issues in the buildings they built. The government says 29 companies covering 95% of these buildings have agreed on new deadlines, meaning remediation work must start by the summer of 2027. This deadline gives developers a year beyond what ministers' officials have proposed in negotiations with the companies. So they've got like you've got till summer 2027 to figure it out. So to get going on this, basically. The Home Builders Federation Industry said Monday's announcement should mark the start of a new approach, but that companies need government support to deal with the obstruction building owners and to speed up with the work at the building safety regulator. The department is expected to introduce a new strategy for fire safety in social housing in the spring, along with wider plans to fund affordable housing. I hope that I just hope this works out in the end. It is so frustrating that still we are going like literally another 4 years still 2029 before they could drag it on for some of these properties. It is infuriating because people's lives should not be should not be at risk. They should not be at risk. It should not be a conversation whatsoever to be having. Like, for me personally, if we're not going to fix these buildings out, then we need to stop renting them out. We need to put these people in safer accommodation. They need to be given another home. Yeah, I'm absolutely deadly serious, because the longer they are in there, the more they are at risk. I mean, we literally got rid of the barge for asylum seekers because guess what? It was dangerous. There was poisonous water. Someone even committed suicide in the goddamn place. I mean, it's just like, if Labour pulled them out for asylum seekers, why are we allowing residents to be in these dangerous cladding buildings? Why weren't the Tories doing anything about this? You know, it's all well and good kicking off at Labour. Where were the Tories when it came to all this as well? But people say, well, they're not in power right now, Regan. It's about what Labour does. And you're right. It is about what Labour does. And Labour need to get a grip of this. And I don't want to hear too much kicking and screaming about who should pay what. Get it done. Get it done. Get the claims sorted so that people will feel safer. Does there need to be more on health and safety? Hell yeah. Needs to be more done on health and safety. But let's just ensure that people are living in safer accommodations than what they are in now. But what do you guys think? What do you guys make of this target that the UK government has set itself on unsafe cladding on residential buildings? Do you think they all meet it? Do you think they've applied pressure themselves? Do you think landlords will be under pressure themselves? Or do you agree with me that perhaps some may bother just taking the hit on the fine because some landlords are quite wealthy? Let me know your thoughts on all of this and more down in the comments section below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. Greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Or you can join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on either of those platforms. Links for all of them down in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.